Good day, Vice Ones. I welcome you all to the Chapter 12 of Project Management Discussion, Outsourcing, Managing Interorganizational Relations. But before we finally start our virtual discussion for today, let me introduce to you first my lovely group mates who will be doing their best to deliver the report. So we have here on the left side, please all welcome Heidi Madulin. She will be the one who will discuss the Chapter 12.1 Outsourcing Project Work and the Chapter 12.2 Request for Proposal or the RFP. While on my right side, we have here Glycel Magdua to discuss the Chapter 12.3 Best Practice in Outsourcing Project Work and also the Chapter 12.4 The Art of Negotiating. Lastly, yours truly, Angel Paganapitan at your service. I will be discussing the Chapter 12.5, A Note on Managing Customers' Relations, and the summary for the Chapter 12. Moving on in today's discussions, we are guided by our learning objectives, and at the end of this discussion, the student should be able to understand the advantages and disadvantages of outsourcing project work. Second one is to describe the basic elements of request for proposal. The third one is identify best practices for outsourcing project work. And the fourth one is practice principled negotiations. And lastly is to describe the Met Expectations model of customer satisfaction and its implications to working with customers on project. But before I hand you over to Ms. Heidi, may I have the privilege to present to you our friendly house rules for today's discussion. Una, makinig. Makinig ka sa diskusyon, hindi yung gusto mong laging ikaw ang pinapakinggan. Pangalawa, mag-focus. Mag-focus ka para makapture tang duha. Hindi yung pinagsasabay mo lang kaming dalawa. Matuto. Matuto ka sa bawat pagkakamali. Hindi yung kinukonsinti mo na lang parate. Matuto kang bumitaw at huwag nang ipaglaban yung kailanman hindi ka ipinaglaban. Ang apat, mag-relax at mag-enjoy. Huwag magpapastress sa jowa mong hindi ikaw ang priority. Sa school works mong nakakabaliw. Importante, buhita. Panglima, ngumiti. Ngumiti ka. Huwag kang magpapatalo sa hamon ng buhay mga kauad. Ituloy ang laban at magpatuloy sa pangarap. We are one, let's have fun and enjoy our discussion for today. And now let's all welcome Ms. Heidi. The screen is yours.
Chapter 12 is titled as Outsourcing, Managing Interorganizational Relations. Here are the first two learning objectives. 12.1 Understand the advantages and disadvantages of outsourcing project. 12.2 Describe the basic elements of a request for proposal. Before we start our discussion, let us first read this quote by Rosabeth Moss Kanter, a professor from Harvard Business School. Being a good partner has become a key corporate asset. I call it a company's collaborative advantage. In the global economy, a well-developed ability to create and sustain fruitful collaborations gives companies a significant competitive leg up. From this quote, it talks about the significance of partnership and collaboration in a certain business. And in relation with that, we will discuss the topic about outsourcing. Outsourcing is the business practice of hiring a party outside a company to perform service or create goods that were traditionally performed in-house by the company's own employees and staff. The term outsourcing has been applied to the transferring of business functions or process to foreign companies. Outsourcing is also applied to contracting significant chunks of project work such as Apple and Motorola. In China, these two brands were working together in order to develop next-generation smartphones. Additionally, the shift toward outsourcing is readily apparent in the film industry. During the golden era of Hollywood, huge and vertically integrated corporations made movies like, for example, studios like MGM or Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer, the Warner Brothers, and 20th Century Fox. These corporations produce and own large movies and employed with thousands of full-time specialists like set designers, camera people, film editors, directors, and especially the star actors. But today, most movies are made by a collection of individuals and small companies who work together to make films project by project. This structure allows each project to be staffed with the talent that is most suited to its demand rather than choosing from only those people the studio employs. This same approach is being applied to the creation of new products and services. For example, the development of a zero-gravity reclining chair. The genesis for the chair comes from a mechanical engineer who developed the idea in her or his garage. The inventor negotiates a contract with the catalog firm to develop and manufacture the chair. The catalog company in turn creates a project team of manufacturers, suppliers, and marketing firms to create the new chair. Each participant adds requisite expertise to the project. The catalog firms bring its brand name and distribution channels to the project. Tool and die firms provide customized products which are delivered to a manufacturing firm that will produce the chair. Marketing firms refine the design, develop packaging, and test market potential needs. A project manager is also assigned by the catalog firm to work with the inventor and the other parties to complete the subject. Many outsourced projects operate in a virtual environment in which people are linked only by computers and technological gadgets. Other participants from different organizations also work together, or in other cases, people may come and go as their services are needed. These people forms a temporary alliance to the organization only to fulfill their contractual obligations and then move on to the next project. Advantages of outsourcing project work. First is cost reduction. Companies can secure competitive prices for contracted services, especially if the work can be outsourced offshore. On the other hand, overhead costs are already cut since the company no longer has to internally maintain the contracted services. Second, faster project completion. Not only can work be done cheaply, but it can also done faster. Competitive pricing means more resources for the dollar or the peso. For example, a company can contract a backhoe operator to be able to accomplish their work earlier. It would take 4 days to complete landscaping with manpower, but only 4 hours using a backhoe. Third, high level of expertise. A high level of expertise and technology can be brought to bear on the project. A company no longer has to keep up with technological advantages. Instead, it can focus on developing its core competencies and hire firms with the know-how to work in the relevant segments of the project. Fourth is flexibility. Organizations are no longer constrained by their own resources, but can pursue a wide range of projects by combining their resources with talents of other companies. Small companies can instantly go global by working with foreign partners. The disadvantages of outsourcing project work. First, coordination breakdowns. Coordination of professionals from different organizations can be challenging, especially if the project work requires close collaboration and mutual adjustment. Breakdowns are exacerbated by physical separation with people working in different buildings, cities, or countries. Second is the loss of control. There is potential loss of control over the project. The core team depends on other organizations that they have no direct authority over. While long-term survival of participating organizations depends on performance, a project may falter when one partner fails to deliver. Third is conflict. Projects are more prone to interpersonal conflict since the different participants do not share the same values, priorities, and culture. Trust, which is essential to the success of the project, can be difficult to forge when interactions are limited and people come from different organizations. Fourth is security issues. Depending on the nature of the project, trade and business secrets may be revealed. This can be problematic if the contractor also works for a competitor. Confidentiality is another concern, and companies have to be very careful when outsourcing processes like payroll, medical transcriptions, and insurance information. Fifth, or the last one, political hot potato. Foreign outsourcing of work is perceived as a major cause of underemployment, especially in the Philippines, as Filipino companies are under increased pressure to keep jobs local. Once an organization decides to outsource project work, the customer or the project manager is frequently responsible for developing a request for proposal or RFP. A request for proposal is a business document that announces a project, describes it, and solicits bid from qualified contractors to complete it. Most organizations prefer to launch their projects using RFPs, and many governments always use them. For example, government projects frequently advise with RFP to outside contractors for roads, buildings, airports, military hardware, and space vehicles. Businesses also use RFPs to solicit bids for building a clean room, developing a new manufacturing process, delivering software for insurance billing, and conducting a market survey. In all of these examples, the requirements and features in the request for proposals should have enough details for the contractors to have a clear description of the final deliverable that will meet the customer's needs. The most common error in RFP is the lack or the insufficient details that may result in conflicts, issues, misunderstanding, legal claims between the contractor and owner, and ultimately a dissatisfied customer. Here are the basic elements or outlines that should be followed in making of the RFPs or request for proposal. First is the summary of needs and request for the action. The background and a simple description of the final project deliverable are given first. For example, through simulated war games, the U.S. Navy has found their giant warships of the past are too vulnerable against today's technology. In addition, the Navy's mission also have shifted to supporting ground forces and peacekeeping missions, which then requires getting closer to shore. As a result, the Navy is revamping ships for near-shore duty. From this, the Navy will select 3 designs for further refinement from the responses to its RFP. In general, it is expected that the new ship will be capable of at least 55 knots, measure between 80 and 250 feet in length, and be fitted with radar-absorbing panels to thwart guided missiles. Second is the statement of work detailing the scope and major deliverables. For example, if the project involves a market search survey, the major deliverables could be the design, the data collection, data analysis, and recommendations by February 14, 2020 for a cost not to exceed $250,000. Third is deliverable specifications, requirements, features, and tasks. These steps should be very comprehensive so that bid proposals from contractors can be validated and later used for control. Specifications cover physical features such as size, quantity, material, speed, and color. Example is an IT project might specify requirements for hardware, software, and training in great detail. Fourth, responsibilities like for the vendor and customer. Failing to spell out the responsibilities for both parties is notorious for leading to serious problems when the contractor implements the project. Well-defined responsibilities will avoid many unforeseen problems. Fifth is the project schedule. This step is concerned with getting a hard schedule which can be used for control and evaluating progress. The schedule should spell out what, who, and when, as owners are usually very demanding in meeting the project schedule. In today's business environment, time to market is a major hot button that influences market share, cost, and profits. 6 is the cost and payment schedule. The RFP needs to set out very clearly how, when, and what are the process for determining cost and conditions for progress payments. 7 is the type of contract. So there are 2 types of contract, which is the fixed price and the cost plus contract. Fixed price contracts agree on a price or lump sum in advance, and it remains as long as there are no changes to the scope provisions of the agreement. This type is preferred in projects that are well defined with predictable cost and minimal risk. The contractor must exercise care estimating cost because any underestimating of cost will cause the contractor's profit to be reduced. On the other hand, cost-plus contracts, the contractor is reimbursed for all or some of the expenses incurred during performance of the contract. This fee is negotiated in advance and usually involves a percent of total cost. Times and materials plus a profit factor are typical of cost-plus contracts. Both types of contracts can include incentive clauses for superior performance in time and cost, or in some cases, penalties. 8 is experience and staffing. The ability of the contractor to implement the project may depend on specific skills. This necessary experience should be specified along with assurance such staff will be available for this project. 9, or the last one, is evaluation criteria. The criteria for evaluating and awarding the project contract should be specified. A well-prepared RFP will provide contractors with sufficient guidelines to prepare a proposal that clearly meets the project and the customer's needs. Selection criteria includes methodology, price, schedule, and experience, and in some cases, these criteria are weighted. Example is the figure 12.2, which is the contractor evaluation template.
Hello everyone, I am Glycol Magdua and I am your reporter for the topics chapter 12.3 and 12.4. So please listen and bear with me until the end. Chapter 12.3, Best Practices in Outsourcing Project Work. This section describes some of the best practices we have observed being used by firms that excel in project management. These are: first, well-defined requirements and procedures; second, extensive training and team-building activities; third, well-established conflict management processes in place; fourth, frequent review and status update; fifth, co-location when needed; sixth, fair and incentive-laden contracts; and lastly, long-term outsourcing relationships. But don't worry, we will discuss it one by one. Well-defined requirements and procedures. Convincing people from different professions, organizations, and cultures to work together is difficult. If expectations and requirements are fully or open to debate, this is even harder. Teamwork and togetherness is very essential to have a successful project management. But when it comes in convincing people, it is quite difficult, especially if you came from different organizations, culture, and profession. It becomes harder when discussing the expectations and requirements, so it needs a lot of teamwork to make the dream work. There are 4 strategies for communicating with outsourcers. Number 1, recognize cultural differences. Realize that not everyone you communicate with shares your assumptions. What is obvious to you is not necessarily obvious to your partner. So of course, dili tanang gikaistorya nimo is pareha mo gyud-na. Expected na gyud nga lain-lain mo ag ideas and assumptions. That is why we must recognize first our cultural differences. Atos ang ila-ilahon una ang atong outsourcer. We must do a background check first to the person that we are outsourcing with. Number 2, choose the right words. When you explain your requirements to an outsourcer, word choice is critical. No matter how prevalent English has become, your outsourcer might have a basic understanding, so you should speak in a direct manner using short sentences made of basic and simple words. Misunderstanding is one of the factors why a project management doesn't meet their goals. That is why we must be careful in choosing the right words to deliver to our outsourcers. Possible, use only short sentences made of basic and simple words. We don't need to impress our outsourcer with flowery words or unfamiliar words. Our goal is to deliver accurate and right information. Confirm your requirements. Here are the following steps to confirm that the outsourcers thoroughly understands your requirements. Number 1, document your requirements. Many people understand written language better than spoken language, probably because they have more time to process the message. That is why you must follow up your conversations with writing. Number 2, insist your outsourcer redocument your requirements. Require outsourcers to write the requirements in their own words. If outsourcers cannot relate to you what you have explained to them, then they didn't understand you. Number 3, request a prototype or feedback. After the requirements are written, ask the outsourcer to create a prototype for you. This is a safety net to ensure that your wants and needs are positively understood. Lastly, set deadlines. Another important cultural difference relates to schedule and deadlines. To most Americans, a deadline is a set of completion dates. This sets a standardization of having your work completed before the said deadline. This can make a person responsible because it will remind them that they have a responsibility to do. Extensive training and team building activities. They train their personnel to work effectively with people from other organizations and countries. This training is pervasive. The training is augmented by inter-organizational team building sessions designed to forge healthy relationships before the project begins. Trainings and team building activities are a way of having fun time or leisure time, but of course, still related to work. These build healthy relationships among co-workers, and this boosts teamwork and strategies. It enlightens the mind of employees, especially when they are stressed from their work. Well-established conflict management processes in place. Escalation is the primary control mechanism for dealing with and resolving problems. The basic principle is that problems should be resolved at the lowest level within a set time limit, or they are escalated to the next level of management. When there are conflicts in your business or management, it must be resolved quickly so that it will not become more big. That is why we use escalation method to make conflicts resolved. For example, when there are some problems that the lowest level are facing, they will given a set of time, or let's just say, they will given 24 hours to resolve that problem. But if dili nila masolve ang problem within the time nga gihatag sa ilaha, that's the time that the problem will be escalated or ipasa sa next level of management. But if dili na sad masolve sa next level of management, then escalate na sad sa higher level until the problem will be solved. Frequent review and status updates. Project managers and other key personnel from all involved organizations meet on a regular basis to review and assess project performance. There are scheduled times when personnel and project managers meet to discuss reviews and status updates. It might be on a daily basis or monthly basis, depends upon the project management. It is very important to have this review and status updates because this is where we can see the happenings in our project, how far the project becomes, and what's its problem, and so on. Co-location when needed. Smart companies rent or make available the necessary accommodations so that all key project personnel can work collectively together. Our experience tells us that co-location is critical and well worth the added expense and inconvenience. Co-location is less relevant for independent work that does not require ongoing coordination between professionals from different organizations. There are companies na mangita sila og laing location para adto sila mag-work. There are big companies that travels outside the country to perform their duties and responsibilities and to discuss some important work matters. Fair and incentive-laden contracts. When negotiating contracts, the goal is to reach a fair deal for all involved. Companies recognize that contracts can discourage continuous improvement and innovation. Why? Because nag-base raman sila sa contract. Kung unsay naa sa contract, mao sad ilang sundon. But companies that treat contractors as partners consider continuous improvement as a joint effort to eliminate waste and pursue opportunities for cost saving. Long-term outsourcing relationships. There are advantages for establishing a long-term partnership. The first one is reduce administrative costs. Reduced as partners become knowledgeable of their counterparts' legal concerns. So magbinantayon na jud ang mga partners kay knowledgeable naman sila sa consequences sa ilang mga mistakes. The second one is more efficient utilization of resources. Contractors have a known forecast of work while owners are able to concentrate their workforce on core businesses. The third one is it improves communication. As partners gain experience with each other, they develop a common language and perspective, which reduces misunderstanding and enhances collaboration. So long-term partners knows each other very well. That is why ma-reduce na gyud ang mga misunderstandings kay kaila naman nila pag-ayo ang usag-usa. The fourth one is it improves innovation. The partners are able to discuss innovations and associated risks in more open manner and share risks and rewards fairly. As partners, they have a common goal and they share innovative and creative ideas. Lastly, it improves performance. Over time, partners become more familiar with each other's standards and expectations and are able to apply lessons learned from previous projects to current projects. As partners become knowledgeable with each other, there are only small chances of losses and mistakes, because as time goes by, their performances are being improved. So let's proceed to the next topic that I will be discussing, which is all about Chapter 12.4, The Art of Negotiating. Effective negotiating is critical to successful collaboration. All it takes is one key problem to explode to convert a sense of we into us versus them. At the same time, negotiating is pervasive through all aspects of project management. Project managers must negotiate support and funding from top management. They must negotiate staff and technical input from functional managers. They must negotiate within the project team to determine assignment, deadlines, standards, and priorities. Project managers must negotiate prices and standards with vendors and suppliers. Here are the list of principal negotiations. Number 1. Separate the people from the problem. Instead of attacking the problem, people attack each other. Once people feel attacked or threatened, their energy naturally goes to defending themselves and not to solving the problem. The key then is to focus on the problem, not the other person, during the negotiation. Avoid personalizing the negotiation and framing the negotiation as a contest. In Fisher and Uri's words, be hard on the problem, soft on the people. In negotiating, avoid personalizing it so much. Separate your personal life from your business life or work. You just need to focus on the problem itself and not the way around. You must be focused on the problem and not the people. The second one is that focus on interests, not positions. The key is to focus on the interest behind your positions and separate these goals from your ego as best as you can. Not only should you be driven by your interest, but you should try to identify the interest of the other party. So in focusing interest, we should be open to others' interests as well. You should also identify and know the interest of your partner on the negotiator so that both of your ideas will be more discussed and tackled. For example, if you say, I'm willing to pay $10,000, but your partner said, no, it will cost $15,000. Or you say, I need it done by Monday, but your partner said, no, that's impossible. We can't have it ready until Wednesday. So by that examples, ask why it will cost so much or why it can't be done by Monday. At the same time, make your interest come alive. Don't just say that it is critical that it be done by Monday. Explain what will happen if it isn't done by Monday. Sometimes, when the true interests of both parties are revealed, we can avoid conflict. The third one is that invent options for mutual gain. Once the individuals involved have identified their interests, then they can explore options for mutual gain. This is not easy. Stressful negotiations inhibit creativity and free exchange. What is required is a collaborative brainstorming in which people work together to solve the problem in a way that will lead to a win-win scenario. In gaining mutuality, it's not easy. Why? Because you have different ideas and interests. You have your own creativity and knowledge. That is why collaborative brainstorming is an important factor to have a win-win scenario. Lastly, on the principal negotiation, is that when possible, use objective criteria. Most established industries and professions have developed standards and rules to help deal with the common areas of dispute. For example, both buyers and sellers rely on the Blue Book to establish price parameters for used cars. Another example is the construction industry has building codes and practice policies to resolve proof of quality and safe work procedures. Another example, the legal profession uses precedents to adjudicate claims of wrongdoing. So that is all about my report for the topics Chapter 12.3 and Chapter 12.4. I hope that you've learned something from it. Thank you for watching and thank you for listening. God bless you all and goodbye.
Ikaw ba isang negosyante? O ikaw ba'y baguhan pa lamang sa larangan ng pagnenegosyo? Halina tayo'y matuto. O samahan niyo akong talakayin kung paano nga ba natin mapapangalagaan at mapanatiling maayos ang magandang samahan sa ating mga mamimili. Tanong, handa na ba kayo? Ito ang Chapter 12.5, a note on managing
But
customers'
before we
relations.
proceed to the note on managing customers' relations, let's talk about first what is customers' relations, for us to have a better understanding on our topic for today. So what is customers' relations? Customers' relations describe how a company engages with their customers with respect to improve customers' experience. It is the company's wide process of nurturing positive relations with your customers. With positive customer relations, it can influence what people think about a company and build the required customer trust to make them want to purchase your products or services. Here goes the saying from an anonymous author: treat the customers as if you are the customer. Your company's most vital asset is its customers, so you need to make sure with your customers properly. Without them, you would not exist in the business world. The key is to make each customer feel welcome and helped. Here are the 10 tips for dealing with customers and excellent customer service that you can surely help with your booming business. First steps is to listen to your customers. Sometimes customers just need to know that you're listening. If they are confused or have a problem, by lending a listening ear, you're showing that you care and that you're not dismissing them. Let's take, for instance, a customer who is struggling to get a pair of shoes that would best suit for his or her outfit. You can listen to them about what you want for the shoes, and you can assess them and suggest some pairs that is suitable for what you wanted. By doing this, you make them feel that you care and is ready to help them. The second tip is to apologize. It's not wrong to admit your mistake. No one's perfect after all. When sometimes goes wrong, apologize. It's amazing how calming the words "I'm sorry" can be. Don't engage in a fault finding or laying blame, but let them know that you're sorry. Deal with the problem immediately and let the customer know what you've done. Tips is to take them seriously. Make customer feel important and appreciated. No matter how ridiculous a question may sound to you, know that it is customers. If they feel like they're being laughed at or spoken down to, they will not purchase anything. Customers can be very sensitive and will know whether or not you really care about them. Stay calm. It is difficult, but sometimes it is important to stay calm. Your calming approach will help your customers stay calm too. They will feel like you're in control of the situations and that you can help solve their problem. One is identify and anticipate needs. Most customers' needs are emotional than logical. The more you know your customers, the better you become at anticipating their needs. Communicate with them regularly so that you're aware of problems or upcoming needs. The sixth one is suggest solutions. Have a menu of calming remedies which you and your employees can use, whether it is purely a refund or if it is from coupons or a free service. By agreeing on advance the scenarios where you will provide these remedies and how much you're willing to spend, you will be able to speak calmer and more confidently when offering the solution. Appreciate the power of saying yes. Always look for ways to help your customers when they have a request, as long as it is reasonable. Tell them that you can do it. Figure out how offer works. Look for ways to make doing business easy with you. Always do what you say you're going to do. The eighth one is acknowledge your limits. Yes, it's a powerful world, but if you're unable to fulfill your request, it's okay to say no. Always know your limits. You can be everything to everyone. If you don't think you can fulfill the request, help them find an alternative remedy, whether that remedy is your business or another. They will appreciate the extra mile you went to help them and will recommend your business. Available. Customer service is no longer just about face-to-face contact and telephone. If you're working in an industry or marketplace where customers are constantly online, you need to amend your service delivery to incorporate that. Make sure you respond promptly and informatively to clients on your main business Facebook page or to your Twitter account. The 10th one is get a regular feedbacks. Feedbacks is a great way to grow both your business and your skills. Provide ways for customers to give feedbacks, whether it is a follow-up email or phone call. A suggestion box or something more fun will also know that you're not just aiming for a sale, but your goal is to build a mutually beneficial relationship towards your customers that can generate a long-lasting sales. If you treat your customers well, your customers would gladly come back to you to buy your products again and again, and if this happens, there is a bigger chance that your business will succeed. In Chapter 4, we learned that ultimate success is not determined by whether a project was completed on time, within budget, or according to its specifications, but it is defined whether the customer is satisfied with the project. Let's take, for instance, same as nakay projects in school like reporting. Can we say that our report is successful if we are done in doing the PPT, the video presentations, or even presenting it to the class? Do you think that we have accomplished the job? Answer is no. Why? We can say na successful na sa atong project assigned task if your audience or your viewer has fully understand your topic or satisfied ba sila sa imong rendered performance. The keyword for managing customers' relation is true customer satisfaction. Know that your customer satisfaction is a complex phenomenon, and that for every happy customers who shares their positive feedbacks or satisfactions regarding a particular product or services, we can't deny the fact that we can't please everyone. That's true, diba? And nga mahimo po yun ang tanang mamalitay sa inyong produkto or serbisyo. Because we have different tastes after all, and we are all unique and individual. Mga tao nga bisan unsa pa ng imo pagpaningkamot para lang mahatag nila ang saktong serbisyo, dili paghapon enough para sa ilaha. Yung masama pa nga ay pinagkakalat pa. There's always be a customers who shares their negative experiences and dissatisfactions towards your friends, families, and relatives. We also know that bad news travels faster, especially when it comes to demand. That's why every company must have a project managers that can cultivate a positive working relations with their customers and clients to preserve the company's reputation. The characteristics of a good project manager, and let's define them real quick. First is foster good relations, in which they are able to handle a multitude of people and personalities as a groups of being a good project manager. Second is to inspire. as a good example for their teams and can motivate individuals to excel in their field of work. Third is be driven. For a company to have a quality results, it also requires quality input. That's why project managers must do what it takes to ensure things were done well and on time. Fourth one is anticipate needs. It is the project manager's responsibility to make sure people have what they need to bring out the best in them. The fifth one is delegate firmly. A good delegator means to be aware of those around you and give the right task to the right person. Test people's strengths and allow them to grow by taking actions. The sixth one is anticipate problems. A good project manager must think about the future and foresee problems that might become great disturbance with the project. Let's go to meet expectations model. According to the meet expectations model of customer satisfaction, it is a function of the extent to which performance of or the outcomes of the products and services rendered exceeds their expectations. This relationship can be presented as the ratio between perceived performance and expected performance. To understand more about it, let's define first what is perceived performance. Perceived performance is the consumer's belief about the product or service experience. Perceived performance has two subsequent measures, and these are a rating of how much the customer is paid relative to how well the product or service has performed. The second one is a rating of how well the product or service has performed relatively to how much the customer paid. On the other hand, expected performance is what customers predict will happen if they use a product or service, in which before the customers decide to make a purchase, they gather first information and interpret information about the product, which influences them how they view the product and its quality. Let us move forward to the meet expectations model ratio. If the ratio is less than 1, this means that performance falls to short expectations and that the customer is dissatisfied. However, when the ratio is equal to 1, this means that the performance matches the expectations and that the customer is satisfied with the performance. Lastly, it is when the ratio is greater than 1, it entails that performance exceeds the expectations and the customer is very satisfied or even delighted. That in order for us to give a high customer satisfaction, it also needs extra cost to the company. Why? It is because in order to exceed the customer's expectations, the company needs to extract more efforts, manpower, extra budget, and expected adjustments, and for any circumstances that occurred in the span of the accomplishment of the said project. Let's take, for instance, in a construction project. In the approval of the project, it tells that the project will be accomplished at the end of October. But at the third week of October, the project was fully accomplished ahead of time, and this accomplishment involves significant overtime expenses. Furthermore, meet expectations model of customer satisfaction highlights the point that whether a client is dissatisfied or delighted with a project, it is not based on hard facts and objective data, but it is based on customers' perceptions and expectations. Managers need to direct their attentions to the following. First is through customers-based expectations, in which the standard perceived performance will be evaluated. The second one is through customer perceptions of actual performance. Managing customers' expectations begins during the preliminary project approval phase of negotiations. In this phase, it is important to avoid the temptations to oversell the virtues of a project just to win the approval, because they may create unrealistic expectations that may be too difficult or impossible to achieve. This phase do not promise anything that is impossible to achieve, that it might affect your client's trust, and instead of making your client satisfied, it turns out being dissatisfied with the final outcomes of your project. Make them understand the process and do not make sweet lies or any informations that are sugar-coated. After the preliminary phase and approval of the projects, the project managers and their teams will closely work with the client's organizations to establish a well-defined project scope statement that includes the objective, the parameters, and the limit of the project work. It is critical that all parties are in agreement as to what is to be accomplished and have known the significant significant risk that might disrupt the project execution so that the customer is more likely ready for any problems and consequences. Once the project is initiated, it is important to keep customers abreast of project progress. Lots of organizations and project managers treat their customers as one of the members of the project team and let them actively involved in the key aspects of the work. Active customers' involvement allows them to naturally manage their expectations in accordance with the decisions, events, and implications that took place upon the accomplishment of the project. Customers' perceptions of performance are shaped more by how well the project team deals with adversity than by actual performance. Project managers can impress customers with how diligently they deal with unexpected problems and setbacks. Industry analysts have noted that the customer's dissatisfactions can be transformed into customer satisfactions by quickly responding and correcting mistakes and by extremely responsive to customers' concern. Study of Weber and Tarty, they had identified the 5 K rules critical to successfully implement IT projects in client organizations. These are entrepreneur, politician, friend, marketer, and a coach. They observed that instead of maintaining a clearly defined relationship with the client, project managers become part of the client's organizations. They reported project managers attempt to dress like the client, act like the client, and participate in the organization's activities. They become such an integral part of their existence that many client employees, over the course of time, forget that project managers is not an employee of the client's organization. This helps establish a degree of trust essential to effective collaboration. Brief segment concludes with 2 words of advice passed on by veteran project managers. First is to speak with one voice. Nothing erodes confidence in a project more than for a customer to receive conflicting messages from different project members. The project manager should remind their team members of this fact and work with them to ensure that appropriate information is shared with customers. The second one is to speak the language of the customers. Project members respond to content that exceeds the customer's vocabulary. Project managers and members need to describe problems, trade-offs, and solutions that customers can understand. That's been all about the Chapter 12 note on managing customers' relations. Let's move forward to the summary of the Chapter 12 outsourcing, managing inter-organizational relations. Outsourcing has become an integral part of project management, in which more companies are collaborating with each other on projects to compete in today's business world. The following are the advantages of outsourcing. First, cost reduction. Second is quicker completion times. Third is greater flexibility. The fourth one is higher level of expertise. The following are the disadvantages of outsourcing. First is coordination problems. The second is loss of control. Third one is conflicts, security issues, and the fourth one is political fallout. A number of proactive best practices have emerged among the firms that have mastered the outsourcing process. These are establishing well-defined requirements and procedures and utilizing fair and incentive-laden contracts. Many companies has adopted the benefits of forming a long-term alliances with each other and dealing with projects to promote a healthy and a smooth working phase. They also recognize the importance of developing a strong BATNA, which provides them with the leverage necessary to seek collaborative solutions. Lastly, customer satisfaction is the litmus test for project success. Project managers need to take a proactive approach to manage customers' expectations and perceptions. Let the customers be involved in the project development to be more focused on the project's objectives and to reduce misunderstanding and dissatisfactions of the project. That's all about the Chapter 12 Outsourcing, Managing, and Inter-Organizational Relations. Thank you.